Computer. Hey, folks, welcome back to the Land Fixer podcast. As usual, I am your host, Logan Swanson, where we talk about all things land related things, and whatever I feel like I want to talk about. Um, we have a guest today. I know I've been doing, I don't know, I didn't plan on doing a whole bunch of guests, but there's so many interesting people to talk to. Today we have Drew Haney with us. I'll have him introduce himself here in just a minute. Um, Top of the hour, I usually say, hey, folks, welcome to go. If you're interested in buying land, go to primelandexchange.com. If you're interested in selling land, go to primelandexchange.com. We have the best properties that are off market and on market, but always geared towards being an excellent investment for you. Also, if you are a land flipper and you're looking to fund any of your projects coming up, go to landpartnerfunding.com. We have money to deploy. We are looking to buy some high quality flips, buy them and bring them to market with you. And then finally, if you are a landowner or you have properties that you're looking to, or funds that you're looking to invest in land, you can speak with me directly. I've partnered with Joe Schmo landowner to develop their properties in the past, and that usually brings the best buck you can get on a piece of land. So reach out to me at thelandfixer@gmail.com with any of that stuff. And without further ado, Drew, introduce yourself. Tell us about yourself, who you are, how you got here.
Hey Logan, thanks for having me. We've been in the space for a few years now, just meeting each other now. But I don't know if you noticed this, but with the Zoom update, they must have filters on our faces because I feel like you and I look way more attractive on camera right now than in real life. So there's got to be like a little hint of a filter, maybe a blemish remover that they put on there. So
Yeah. And a
feeling
teeth
good.
whitener. You can't even turn it off. Yeah.
I know. I noticed. Yep. Let's see my nails. My nails are looking good too.
Look at those cuticles.
Um, hey, thanks for having me. I hope to see you in September at Ajay's event.
Hmm.
Um, so a little bit about me. I spent my 20s in the Army, jumped out of some airplanes. I was a logistics officer. My job in the Army was to get ammunition from the factory to the foxhole. So started out being attached to artillery, then moved to HIMARS, and finished active duty in Korea. I'm currently in the reserves and leaving the reserves right around 10 years of service. So late 20s, I was active duty Army and I started day trading and I wasn't having great results, but I knew how much potential it was. And so I did what every parent tells you not to do. I quit a high-paying job, a safe job with free healthcare. Well, I guess the military is like financially safe, but not physically safe, if you know what I mean.
There's trade-offs.
Yep, yep. But I quit a secure job to day trade full time. Did that for 2 years. I'd just gotten married at the time, and I left the army from Korea. We stayed in Korea as civilians. I lived in an apartment for $400 a month. Day traded, didn't really make much, didn't really lose much. And after 2 years, we had a kid, an infant, and I looked at my trading results and I'm like, this is not working. Something needs to change. So I went back to the real world. We moved back to the United States, moved to Kansas City. I got a job as an auditor at a finance company. That was a few months before COVID. I start auditing. I'm still day trading on the side, and COVID starts. And right when COVID starts, I lost about half my net worth. I had like a low six-figure net worth at the time. Lost it overnight in the March 2020 flash crash. I was up at like 2, 3 a.m. trying to get out of my position because there was a futures contract. It was 7 contracts, actually. It was a horrible feeling. And I said to myself, this is not a pleasant way to live your life, right? Like, I literally lost my W-2 salary amount overnight, right? And I
Uh,
wasn't even happy with my W-2. I didn't even, I enjoyed certain parts of it, but I wasn't being stimulated. So
mhm.
I stopped trading. I kept working the W-2. I went into a funk. I thought to myself, is this what my career is going to be? I just commute to work in rush hour traffic at a job that I'm understimulated at. And that's when I found land. And with land, June, July of 2020, started through one of the typical education courses. And then I found this amazing thing about my job. I realized that once you stop socializing with your coworkers, and you actually batch your work, I realized I could get it done in 2 hours a day. So the other 6 to 8 hours I was spending in my land business. And within the first year, I'd replaced my income, quit my super cushy 2 hour a day job. And I've been doing land full time since I just about hit 3 years now, full time land. Um,
Badass. What program did you take for education, if you don't mind me asking?
yeah, I've been through like 4 or 5 of them. Started with Land Geek.
Okay.
A lot of people, have some mixed opinions on it. I'm grateful for it. It got me
Yeah.
started. Um,
Same. That was the one we did.
yep, yep. Nothing wrong with starting with the cheap desert stuff. Um, I've taken Clint's course. I've gone through Travis King's course twice. I'm sure there's one or two I'm missing, but I just love to learn, and I'm willing to pay for it. It's always worth it. Probably spent about 100K total. Made that back many multiples more. I actually sold. I'm the only person in the business that I know that I've sold my land business. Like I exited.
How recent was that? Because I started seeing some posts, and maybe it was you
Yeah.
saying, "Hey, I'm trying to sell my business," and I think I
No, no,
maybe
no. I
somebody
didn't post.
else.
Yeah,
Okay.
probably somebody else. See, the reason why it's so rare is because there's no proprietary knowledge, right? Like
Yeah. What are you really
there's
selling, right? Like a
there's no
VA,
secrets, right?
an
So
inventory.
I basically sold it at cost. Like I didn't exit at huge multiples. The buyer pretty much bought my inventory, bought my notes, and then took on my brand and my employees. And
Hmm.
the reason that I still gained so much from that is because like I got to feel what it feels like to exit a business. I
Hmm.
got to feel the satisfaction of building something and then handing it off to somebody else to, continue building. And it like gave me back so much of my cognitive bandwidth, you know.
Hmm.
At that business at the time, this was a few months ago actually, it was only consuming maybe 5 hours a week of my time, but it
Yeah.
was taking up like 40-50% of my brain space,
Right.
right? So how do you track that metric, right? You can track dollars per hour, but how do you track like units per brain space, right?
Or even just emotion, like the
Right,
little anxiety hits you get when you get like an email or a
right,
call from somebody or a tax bill you weren't, whatever. There's always just these
right.
little hitting you.
Well, like I run a funny business and it's wonderful. I love it. And I tried to go shooting all last week. I had the guns and ammo all loaded in the trunk. All last week I tried to go, stuff always came up. Finally today I'm like, screw it. I'm gonna go because I'm flying tomorrow, so my trunk has to be empty tomorrow
Yeah, I
anyways.
was gonna say.
So I said, I'm going shooting no matter what, even if there's an emergency. And the whole time I'm shooting, there's text messages, there's wire requests.
Hmm.
And if I would have had my other business, my you know, cheap dirt desert land flipping business, it would have been twice as much hitting
Hmm.
me, right? I would have been texting every single magazine reload. So anyways, so now I do funding, and I also partner with operators and we do subdivides together. For some of them, I'm meeting as much as twice a week,
Hmm.
and others want me to be more hands off. They just want my money, and I meet with them whenever we need, maybe once a quarter or something. So funding flips and partnering with people on subdivides. That's what I'm working on right now.
Well, perfect. Well, thank you for the 20,000 foot view of who you are. Um, this is kind of like an emergency podcast, kind of. So the reason we're recording at 5 p.m. on a Monday, and I scheduled this 2 hours ago,
Mhm.
is so there's this huge downturn, well, relatively huge downturn in the market. You lived through a stock market crash, and I've never really invested in stocks. I always kind of saw it as a loser thing for me. Not really because you can't do it right, because I knew I would probably not do it right. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
And it felt too removed from me to ever really get
Yeah.
involved. So, but that being said, you go on X right now or Twitter or whatever, and you go read what people are saying. It's, this is the beginning of the end, the bubble's bursting, everything's about to go sideways. And I'm curious to know, one, you've been through it. Granted, COVID's a little different because Yeah, you kind of fell in a bubble, but you also came up in the ideal land investing bubble, the
Yep.
opposite, right? Which
Hmm.
is,
Yep.
COVID was, good times for
Yep.
land investing.
Yep.
But what are your thoughts now? Do you think it's the end of times? And bring this all back at the end to land. Like, how do you view investing in land in this atmosphere, this climate?
Yeah. So I spent 5 years watching the charts almost daily. So I've seen a lot of price action. I've seen a lot of moments where people think it's the end. There's a flash crash in January of 2018 that most people don't remember, but it was very similar to this. And if you look at the charts, see, I don't watch the news. I didn't actually know about anything bad going on until you guys started texting in our group chat earlier today. So I looked at the charts and it's dropped very quickly. But if you zoom out to a monthly candlestick, so have you ever gone to the chart um, filter where you can go to green and red? I don't know if I could share my screen.
No, actually, I was going to say, let me allow you to share, and then people will actually have to watch this on YouTube and they can see what's going on here.
Okay.
Can you share?
All right. Yeah, let me try.
Close
Host
your tabs.
disabled.
Close all your tabs. Okay, go ahead.
Oh, I gotta close all my tabs?
No, I'm just kidding. I was like, so you don't have anything you shouldn't see. Yeah, I was trying to be funny.
No,
Messed it
no,
up.
no. That's my tabs are my to-do list. Um, all right. I have it up here. Let me try to share it again. It still says you disabled it.
Mm, all right, try now.
Okay, perfect. All right. So I have it zoomed out to a monthly chart.
Hmm.
Um, So the green and red symbols are called candlesticks. And whatever time frame you have it on, so 1M means 1 month. That
Hmm.
means that each candlestick is 1 month of price action. So if it's green, it means it was an up month. If it's red, it means it was a down month. And when you see these long wicks, you see these t long like tails or wicks,
Yeah.
that just means that there is more price action than normal in that time period. So if you look at the size of the candle that we have for August, it's very, very normal, right? Look at all these candlesticks. Okay, that's February, March of 2020. That was massive price action. But go back. This was 2018. You have another one in October of 2018. Um, even though this looks small right here, this is January of 2018, which I mentioned earlier. This at the time was massive. Here, I can actually bring it to scale here. I mean, imagine what this looked like in 2018. Um, so, anyways, my point is that I don't know what the news is saying is fundamentally wrong with the market right now, and I really don't care. What I know is that this chart, it's still in an upward trend, and if anything, it's a great time to buy. Now, I don't trade anymore. I'm 100% in land, um, but I wouldn't start getting concerned until the market breaks this low right here. So that's like 3,500 S&P futures level.
Hmm.
Um, that's when like, okay, buy some guns and ammo kind of stuff, right? If any price action within this range here, you're going to like it's normal. Markets often go sideways. If you look at any other global, not global, any other uh, national economy other than the United States, most countries' economies go sideways for long periods of time. Look at Japan. Japan is a wonderful country. I was just there a few weeks ago. Their economy has gone sideways for decades, and we're spoiled because we're
Yeah.
not used to that. The only time we saw sideways action was from what 2000 to 2010 approximately. Look at this. They call it the lost decade, right? Look at this sideways price action. Okay. So that was a whole decade of it going sideways. Other than that, I'm sure there was times pre 1990, but other than that, we've seen a massive bull market, and people think it's like the end of time if all of a sudden we like break some upward trend, right? Now that being said, I do own lots of guns and lots of ammo, so like
You're prepared either way.
yeah, I don't I don't really have a reason to be as concerned. I also, I believe that God really, really cares about his children. And I believe if like shit really hit the fan, he would rain down manna from heaven if he wanted to. He
Hmm.
can, right? Usually he likes to use people before he uses miracles. But this is why I'm not concerned. But I also don't have a dog in the fight. I'm 100% in land, and land sometimes is correlated with the market and sometimes it's not, right? So going into land, which is what you kind of asked me to segue into, um, I don't have data. I just listened to your episode with Clay. By the
Hmm.
way, what a gifted individual.
Yeah.
I feel like you and me, we're kind of like normal guys who've worked pretty hard. Clay is gifted.
Hmm.
So love that episode. He says he's seen the data infill lots versus recreational land. I've just seen what I've seen, which is very anecdotal, and it's my belief that yes, recreational rural land tends to be not correlated to the market, and then infill lots, in my opinion, they tend to be correlated with like houses, right?
Hmm.
Because an infill lot is what you're going to build on a house. You build a house on there, right? So the most extreme story I've heard, I've done 300 deals in my own company, and then I've funded over 200 deals with other people. The worst story I've heard of land losing value was in a very nice neighborhood in Florida. And she said that at the peak of 2008, she was being offered $200,000 for her lot. This was in 2021 when I was talking to her. And at the time, her lot was worth 100 grand. She said she was offered as much as 200,000 for it in 2008. And then a few years later, she was being offered as low as $5,000 for it. So that's a 97% decrease in price, right?
Hmm.
And she could have been lying. I don't know what incentive she would have had to make up those numbers because I didn't do a deal with her. Um, but like that stuff does happen, and land sometimes does act like a luxury item that people don't actually need,
Hmm.
right? So in my opinion, land behaves in different ways. Sometimes it's seen as a necessity, sometimes it's seen as a luxury item, sometimes it's seen as a hedge, such as gold or guns and ammo.
Hmm.
Um, and I don't really have a strong opinion either way because I know I can make money in any market. There's going to be some markets where my margins are really fat, like the past few years. There's going to be other markets like right now where my margins are squished, right? You still have the COVID sellers that want really high prices. And then you have the buyers that they want low prices, right?
Hmm.
So our margins aren't as good as they were in the past few years. And this is just a cycle we're in, and that's fine, right? So I don't know if that's
So
the answer you're looking for.
yeah, no, that's perfect. So imagine you were um, talking to somebody who knew nothing about, buying land as an asset. Maybe they're even, you're talking to them, they're looking to buy one of your properties, and they're like, "Hey, is this a good investment?" How would you answer that question in an economy that maybe seems shaky or could be in the midst of a downturn?
I would say it's better than really anything else. I would choose
Yeah.
land over gold. So
Hmm.
first do your emergency stuff like guns, ammo, whatever, food, and then like put your big boy pants on and actually like invest, like park your cash, because US dollars, it's a fiat currency, right? So
Hmm.
it could be worthless overnight, and we've seen that in other countries. Their currency becomes worthless overnight, right?
Yeah.
You have pictures in Germany, and 100 years ago they have wheelbarrows full of cash just to buy bread. So you gotta get rid of that cash somehow. I would say land is overall very, very safe, um, over 5, 10, 20, 30 years. Do I do I recommend to buy a piece of land now and then a year or two later think that you're gonna make a lot of money on it? Absolutely not.
Yeah.
Unless you're buying below market value, which takes thousands of letters or cold calls. But if you're just paying market rate and you want to park some cash and you don't need that money for 10, 20 years, I think it's great.
Right, exactly. And that's what I tell folks. And there are certain property like you can do some research and buy a property that is maybe a better investment or suitable to some sort of relatively simple value add that you could hire a third party to do for you. Um, there are a few that I think are maybe less good as an investment, which is properties that are most suitable for luxury uses. And I wouldn't consider hunting a luxury use because I don't really think that falls off very much, whether the economy's high or low. Maybe even picks up. I'm not sure. But like high end lake
Like
lots where,
lakefront. Yeah,
yeah, where you're going to build a second home,
right.
especially if the holding costs are high. That's usually what I advise people. Like if the holding costs are really low, it's really hard to lose.
Hmm.
But if the holding costs are high, or if the deed restrictions are very complicated, or there's an additional governing authority like a POA or an HOA that could cause mess or disruption, it's really hard to lose. So then it's best like buy something that invest in something that's, well, one, within your price range, and then two is just something that maybe is fun for you or useful for you, or
Hmm.
maybe you do want to build on it someday, but maybe you don't. Um, and that way, I think it's like, I mean, it's as old as time, right? That idea of just buying dirt, putting some money into an asset that isn't going to disappear, or not hold
Right.
on to that money that might disappear, like you were saying.
Hmm. Yeah, and I would add in the path of growth
Hmm.
is
Right.
like it's
Yeah.
hard to go wrong. Like outside a city, like I would say a sweet spot is a piece of land that you can enjoy, shoot your guns, ride your dirt
Hmm.
bikes, maybe build second home on someday. And 10, 20 years later, it's an outlying suburb, right?
Hmm.
I would say
Yeah.
that's great.
Yeah. And I've even seen that kind of like appreciation in the middle of nowhere. I was actually thinking about, I've done a lot of West Texas deals, and I was actually thinking about doing a video that just talked about the microeconomy of Brewster County over the past 5 years since I've been dabbling in that one county. And prices have gone wild out there. Part of it is us infiltrating the market and kind of spinning it up and moving properties around. But there's also just the same incentive that people have always had of having a piece of, dirt in the middle of nowhere, owning a piece of Texas, all these sorts of reasons that people would buy rural vacant land. It's just now available to them. So that creates
Hmm.
its own, bullish market, right? So it's kind of fascinating. And if you look at all sorts of markets that land investors kind of picked up and started trading in, you see that same sort of rapid appreciation in areas that you would have never thought that would happen in, right? The middle of
Yeah.
nowhere, Texas.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, who's your main audience? Did you say it was a mix of different groups?
A lot of real estate investors that aren't necessarily land investors.
Yeah, so I think that, and you've talked about it with Clay. I think that the land business, whether you're flipping or just buying for buy and hold, I do think it's a better vehicle than most. Um, but I don't think it's this magical unicorn that's just like waiting to be discovered, right?
Hmm.
I'm talking more about like the flipping game.
Yeah,
Um,
no.
and then you also talked about with Clay, when you buy a structure, you have a lot of headaches that come along with that versus land. Yes, yes, it doesn't cash flow. Um, but you also like what's gonna go wrong on it? There's nothing that can go wrong other than someone gets murdered on your land or something.
Yeah.
Um, so I think it's a great business. It's very simple. A lot of ways for everyone to win, including the sellers who are selling at below market. I used to wonder why they would sell so low. And then I had like multiple times in my own life where I needed speed over cash, right?
Yeah.
So we're selling our house in Kansas City and we needed 4,000 square feet worth of furniture all gone within 2 weeks.
Yep.
So instead of selling it for 10, 20 grand, we gave it away,
Yep.
right? And I was so happy. These people come to my house, take away my furniture. They're happy they're getting it for free. And I'm happy they're taking it out of my house because I caught like the very tail end of the selling season, sold my house at like a like very good price. So that's when I realized, oh, wait a second. There are times in your life where you prefer speed over top dollar. right?
Yeah, and you might have even had more emotional connection to the sofa that you actually sat on than a property that maybe they got from their grandfather that they
Right.
all they knew, the only idea of its existence was a deed that maybe they saw and
Hmm.
maybe they didn't, or maybe it was just said they got 5 acres in this county, right?
Yep.
Yeah, yeah.
I sold we had like a Mercedes. It was worth 16 grand. I took it to CarMax. CarMax offers me 8,000 for it. And I said, no way. And then like a week later, check light, engine light comes on, and I go, man, this thing's a pain. I want to get rid of it.
Maybe, yeah.
So then I sold it a month later to a friend for 7,000,
Hmm.
right? And it was still worth 15K at the time. Why did I do that? Because I wanted the headache gone. I wanted to move
Hmm.
on,
Yep.
right? So there's ways for everyone to win, and I'm just excited to be involved. I'm just happy to be in the game and have lots of fun.
Well, cool. Well, I appreciate you coming on. Did you have any last words, or if people wanted to reach out to you, can they, and how would they if they did?
Yeah, I have a website, drew-haney.com, Haney. I have nothing to sell. Really, I work with five or six, we call them operators. So they're either flipping land or doing subdivides with me. I have five or six right now. Um, I'm not looking for 10 more. I'm looking for like one more.
Hmm.
Because what I do is I go very deep with these people. I typically fly out to see them. I was just in Alaska visiting an operator, took my 3-year-old daughter. We go very deep. We grow together. We have a lot of fun. Really, that's the only financial incentive for connecting with people. Other than I just enjoy it, right?
Yeah.
So you can find me on drew-haney.com. I'm speaking at Ajay Sharma's event next month in September in Dallas. It is, what is it? What's the URL? It's landscalingsummit.com.
Yes. That sounds
So you
right.
can sign up there. There is a fundraising gala on the night of day two for raising funds to reduce sex trafficking crimes. So very excited about that. Um, yeah, just love to meet people and we can all grow together.
Cool. Well, I appreciate your time, Drew. I know you have to go work out again today, and I have to go spend some time with my kids. So, all that being said, folks, if you need to buy or sell land, go to primelandexchange.com. If you need funding, go to landpartnerfunding.com, and you can always reach me at thelandfixer@gmail.com. Folks, we'll see you soon. Have a good one.
Thanks, Logan.